Alright, so we've got an even shorter stage on our hands. We're also going to be starting with even more of these guys, which, now that I think of it, I don't think I've actually mentioned their names. These guys are actually called Octopus Batteries. Yes, Octopus Batteries. Why? I don't know. They don't resemble an octopus, or any amount of octopi for that matter, but, you know, Capcom localization team, I guess. That's just the excuse for everything. Well, anyway, oh, that's a neat glitch. But anyway, yeah, regardless of the weirdly named enemies, this section is kind of repetitive. It's just a bunch of octopus batteries and some turrets thrown in. Again, Thunder Beam, best friend, use it a lot, or get impatient like I am and just say screw it to everything, I don't care if I'm getting shot. Just skip the rest of this section because it's repetitive and slow. This section, however, will automatically push you forward, so you can just stand here, and at some point, yeah, these guys will start showing up, the penguin missiles, or I think they're called Peng. But yeah, this section, you can either go fast or slow. Obviously, if you go slowly, you can just take these guys out, no problem. But this section is not that long, but, you know, it takes a little while if you don't really move around all that much, and there are, of course, times when I get hit, despite the fact that I really shouldn't have. But whatever. Also, don't even know why I would recover the magnet beam, but whatever. Also, after a while, if they would like to appear... Okay, there we go. Eventually, these killer bullets will start appearing, and you definitely want to be careful here, and you may want to slow down at this point because, of course, if you hit a killer bullet, it will explode, meaning, yeah, it's a lot more likely that you're going to be hit. So do be careful here, don't waste too much health. The next boss isn't really that difficult, but at the same time you want a little bit of health for it, because it can be kinda tricky. So, this boss, I'm not even going to try to remember its name. It's like some CPU with a really weird name, like CWP-02XQY something or other. Anyway, basically these are just a bunch of CPU units that have bubble shields, and there are 7 of them. However, for each one you kill, the next one will actually get faster. So, after a while, these guys can get pretty hard to dodge, and, well, they're gigantic anyway, so they're kinda difficult to dodge in the first place. But, of course, they're weak to the super arm, or the boulders you throw with super arm. You want to conserve these at first because, of course, you only have so many, and if you waste them on the easier-to-kill ones, well, that's just it. It's a waste. And you don't want to do that. But, as long as you just kill, like, 4, right? Actually, no, 3, because there are 4 blocks and 7 units, so just kill 3 of them and you can use the blocks. I obviously, you know, I didn't use all of them, I killed 1 more extra, but whatever, that doesn't matter. So, this is actually the last stage in the game, and, well, it kinda starts out with these enemies, except they're a little harder to dodge because they spawn quick enough where you can't just jump the ladder. Here, too, you can't just climb up, because you will probably get hit by them. There is a possibility you could, you know, dodge them, of course, that's always a thing that can happen. But I didn't. I didn't dodge them at all. It was kinda sad, actually. Anyway, here is kinda where Dr. Wily's weird Gutsman fascination emerged. I mean, this is a robot manufacturing plant, so obviously that's supposed to be, you know, it's supposed to indicate that Wily is cloning the robot masters, but... you know, I mean, I can understand why there would be so many of them, and, you know, of just one robot master because of memory space, but at the same time, why Gutsman? There are much tougher robot masters like Elecman or Iceman is better than Gutsman. I mean, he's no Cutman, but, you know. Now, over here, if you can time your jumps correctly, you actually get the Yasichi, I believe it's pronounced, which actually refills all of your health and weapon energy, which is very useful because we're about to do the rest of the boss refights. Yeah, remember we were doing this? Apparently Capcom didn't, and they were like, oh shit, we've only set 2 of the Robot Master fights down in the last stages, throw them all in at the end of the stage, like, right before the last boss. this is legitimately the thing you have to do right before the final boss, and you don't get healed in between or after these fights. So yes, you had to fight Fireman, one of the toughest bosses in the game, without any sort of healing afterwards. And honestly, really annoying. Iceman's not too bad because, of course, he can be a little hard to dodge, a little tricky, but really, if you can maneuver in between those two projectiles, you're good. And lastly, of course, is Gutsman. So, yeah, Wily, why do you have a weird Gutsman fascination? Also, Hyper Bomb. Yeah, that's what it does. You have to throw it, and eventually it will explode. Very annoying weapon to use. Honestly, I just prefer bustering Gutsman, because it doesn't really take that much longer. Because, honestly, I just find it trickier to just, have to throw down a bomb and hope it hits, and wait for it to hit. It's just easier to shoot him. But that's 3 fights, and all you get before the last boss is a weapon recharge. Woo. And here he is, Dr. Wily, and his newfangled Wily machine. I don't get these things. Anyway, first form, really not too bad. All it does is just fire a bunch of bullets in an arc, very easy to destroy. However, he does fire rapidly, so it can be a bit hard to avoid. Second form, much more difficult. He fires off these energy orbs, and they're not that difficult to avoid. They can be tricky because they loop in midair, so do be careful when he's firing. Also, no matter what weapon you use, even this one, which is technically his weakness, you will only do 1 damage to him, because he's kinda strong against all weapons, which is why this boss is kinda tough, because he resists everything. However, there is an easy way to do this fight, and I believe the first form. The Rolling Cutter, while it only does 1 damage to both form, is technically the strong weapon against both forms, because it can hit him up to 3 times. See? And, yep, I killed him in just 2 shots, because that's what the Rolling Cutter does. Only 1 damage, but multiple hits. And with that, Wily just gives up, and Mega Man does nothing at all. Gee, I'm sure Wily will never come back, what with Mega Man not doing anything at all and just giving him a cold, dead stare. Either of you guys gonna do anything? No, just gonna count up the clear points? Whatever. And that's Mega Man! Now, in comparison to later games, obviously, the level design isn't as good, the aesthetics are kinda bland in comparison, music, decent, not as good, obviously physics, not as polished. On its own, it's decent enough, there are better platformers, but it holds up relatively well, I guess. But of course, obviously it's a good thing that, it isn't as good as the later games, because that would be pretty sad if the later games weren't as good as this. And regardless, you have to appreciate it in some capacity, because it was just, some platformer made by 6 people when Capcom was like, hey, let's make a game for some consoles, because we haven't really done that. And then it became the entire Mega Man franchise, and in case you haven't noticed, that's kinda huge. So even if it's not the best, it's sure as hell influential in some capacity. And with that, let's just end it off. I've been Fefter Moss Mune, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.